Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of Provo City School District's What's Up with the Soup podcast. I am Superintendent Wendy Dau. The month of November is recognized as Native American Heritage Month. In honor of that, I am excited to visit with Meredith Lam, the district's Title VI coordinator. But before we hear from her, here are our updates. There is one policy for review on our district website. Go to provo.edu, click on Policies, Forms, and Documents, and click on Review Draft Policies here. You will see a draft policy of 4066, which is testing procedures. This policy covers everything that's tied to end-of-level testing, opt-out procedures, district's assessment plans, anything that you may have some feedback on. If you would click on that, and you can provide your feedback at that website. We have reached the time of year that we need to be prepared for inclement weather to possibly affect our school days. Please review the inclement weather procedures on the district's website. A quick summary of the inclement weather policy includes, by 7 o'clock, the district will formally announce if we are shifting to a 2-hour late start for the following morning. If a 2-hour late start is announced, it automatically puts into place a below bench pickup for those affected neighborhoods. If by 7 p.m. there is indication that travel will be impacted for the entire following school day, an at-home learning day may be called. If for some reason by morning there is so much snowfall, or if it is continuing to snow and predictions suggest that it will not stop in time for buses to travel safely, by 5:30 a.m. we will call for an at-home learning day. Directions for accessing below bench pickup locations are outlined in the inclement weather procedures on the district website. And as always, we may end up with emergency situations that happen where a snowstorm suddenly comes in and we have to call that at the last minute. But for the most part, we will try to keep you notified well ahead of time. The time has come to begin the process of selecting the school year calendar for the 2026-2027 school year. Based on past survey results and feedback received from parents and employees, the district has altered this process going forward. Please visit the district website or check your email to learn more information, view the calendar options, and vote for your preferred choice. The school board is considering 3 options for use of the Dixon Middle School site and would love to hear your feedback. Please visit the district website to learn information about the options and complete the feedback form. Would you like to have your voice heard on matters of the district? We have 2 opportunities for you to be involved with Provo City School District. One is a Citizens Connections Committee, which will meet and provide feedback to the Board of Education on a variety of topics. The second committee is a Parent Advisory Committee for parents of current students within our schools. The purpose of this committee is for district leadership to understand the challenges and concerns that our students have as they attend our schools so that we can problem solve with you on how to make our schools welcoming spaces for all. If you would like to serve on either of these committees, please complete the application that has been emailed to all parents. This application can also be accessed on our website. We are excited to hear from you and to work with you. The next school board meeting will be a study session and business meeting on Tuesday, December 10th. Please look for more information to be posted on the district website as we get closer to the date. And continue watching for my weekly video casts in your email every Monday morning. These video casts provide one place for you to learn about important things happening across the district. So today for our podcast, I'm here with our Title VI coordinator. Her name is Meredith Lam. Thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate you having me on today.
This month is Native American Heritage Month. So tell us a little bit about why this month is so important, how it was set up. I think it was set up by George H.W. Bush in 1990 or something.
1992.
1992. Mm-hmm. Okay, I was close.
You were very close.
So tell us a little bit about the purpose behind that and how that manifests itself, that we hope it manifests itself in Provo City School District.
For sure. Well, I feel like the district has had a very long-running relationship with the Native American community, and I love the camaraderie that comes as far as exchange in what we can offer as a culture. And I think there's a lot of unknown facts about Native American people that is really helpful to understand. We are celebrating the 100th year of Native American people in the United States actually becoming U.S. citizens.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And having the right to vote. And so that was not done until 1924.
That's right.
And it's important for people to understand because Usually people are shocked at that because they're like, wow, well, they were here first,
Yes.
you know?
They should be shocked by that, actually.
And it's a really important bit of fact to understand about Native American people because, yes, we have been here in the United States. So we're not eliminated. We're not in any danger of going anywhere else. I think a lot of places that you go around the world, they kind of look at Native American people as unicorns or like fairies. You know, they just think that it's some kind of mythical, that they're all gone. And that's due to the Romanticism period in the United States. And Native American history is a vital and very important part of American history. And because of that, so much is intertwined with that exchange that we have with Native people when it comes to influences. So many of our state names, street names, city names are very focused on Native American language and tribes, depending on where you live. And so it's really important to understand that we are still here. We haven't gone anywhere.
Right.
And there's so much that we can share with others. And so I think that that's a wonderful aspect of National Native American Heritage Month, is that gives people the knowledge of getting to know the culture a bit more.
I think that's wonderful. Tell us about some of those things that you would love to share about Native American culture that may not be as well known.
Yeah, well, I feel like I grew up in a place in Arizona. Page was where I grew up most of my life. And so I was one of many Native American students in my high school. And my dad was actually a school board president. And so it was something that I have always grown up with until I hit my sophomore year. We moved to Prescott, Arizona, which maybe wasn't too far away, but I became one of many Native students to the only Native American student in my entire class.
Okay.
So it was in the entire high school. And so it was an opportunity for me to share my culture with other people who maybe necessarily didn't know much. And what I loved about that too was it really got me to talking a lot to my teachers. My favorite teachers were the history teachers.
Because they're always the best.
They are so great. And they were always so enthralled and fascinated with Native American history. And I think that's where it started. You know, that's where the passion inside of me started as far as my love, my culture, and my people and our history. And so coming to college, that ended up being one of my minors. I double minored in history and Native American studies, and then my major was English. And so through that opportunity, it was a time where I was able to fully immerse myself in my culture, and I went to BYU. So I had a lot of great professors, a lot of great people here in this community. And that's actually how I got connected to the Title VI program here in Provo City School District. Was I took a job early on my freshman year with Kathy Bledsoe.
Okay.
And she was the Title VI director back then. But it was really important for me to have this love for Native American people. I think there's a lot of misunderstandings, but I think there's a lot that people can actually learn if they just listen. And it's around us. It's all around us. And that's what's so beautiful about this place that we grow up in, is that we may not have it in our face every day, like, say, in Arizona, but it's a place where we do come across it. And it's important to understand Native American history wherever you go, because it is everywhere in the United States. And so I do like to help people understand there's a lot of legal understanding as far as why Native American people have that legal status as Native Americans. A lot of people will think, well, they're just a culture, a group of people, but we're actually one of the few groups in the United States that does have that legal status because of our unique history with the United States government. Yeah. And so it's that tribal sovereignty, that right to sovereignty, that we actually have that relationship. And so that gives us our legal status. And with that, since we're federally recognized, I do like to describe to people the differences, the unique differences between Indigenous people. So when I say Indigenous, that includes people from all over the world that are Indigenous to wherever place they come from. And so here in the mainland U.S., we have American Indians. And then in the Alaska region, you have Alaska Natives. So they have their own legal status.
Okay.
They're separate and they're not called Native Americans. So
Okay.
you wouldn't go to Alaska because they would immediately correct you.
They would be like, no, that's not who we are.
That's not who we are. And then Canada has their own recognition for their Indigenous people, and they are First Nations.
Okay.
And so a lot of times over this period of history, we have come across to a lot of intermixing, a lot of intermarriage. So we'll have, like, my children are actually part Native Hawaiian. And so it's been really great to have kids, who have come from such mixed backgrounds, and then just having them also understand where they come from. And so they're able to tell people where they're from, how their names came to be.
Yeah.
But it's just so important for people to understand that there is that unique difference with Native American people. And that's why it's so important, is because our history is so important to who we are. More than anything, if you study the history, you can find the most beautiful resiliency in the culture and in the stories and just as people in general. And when I say Native American, I don't mean to homogenize the group. We obviously are a very diverse, federally recognized group. And so there are 574 federally recognized tribes within the United States alone.
Wow.
So that's a lot. Yeah. And each has their own history, their own language, their own culture. It's so incredibly beautiful to see over the years how many tribes have come out. And it just makes that more important, I think, for other people to know how well connected and how vast, Native American people are in this country. We may be small, like in most places, we're usually less than 1% of the population, but we're still here, and we love to share our culture with others.
Tell us a little bit more about that relationship between tribal sovereignty, the United States government, how that works, because I think a lot of people have misunderstandings about what that's about.
Right. So that tribal sovereignty, like I said, it's a very unique relationship. The easiest way that I can really describe it, even to my own students and my own families, is think of it as having like a dual citizenship, in the sense of that you have your own tribal nation that you're registered with, but you still are an American citizen. And so that's really important for them to understand, because I think as you progress and get older, a lot of times people don't understand why there are special programs for Native American people and why we have our own hospitals, why we have these designated lands called reservations that were federally given to us by the United States, and they do oversee that land. And so there's different departments that overlook different segments of Native American or Indian country. The most federally recognized tribes are looked over by the BIA, which is the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So that unique relationship is kind of set up as we believe in tribal sovereignty, because if you look at the unique legal relationship between Native tribes and the United States kind of functions with their form of government, our form of government, as an umbrella over tribal nations. So it's not truly tribal sovereignty because we're not on our own, but we do have that unique relationship where we do work with each other. And so that's also where Title VI comes in.
Tell us a little bit about what the Title VI program does for students in Provo City School District, because you're involved in a lot of different things to help support our Native American students. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, I love our program, and there's so many programs throughout the nation, just like Title VI, I believe, in Hawaii. Even though the Native Hawaiians are not federally recognized, they do take part in the Title VI program.
Okay.
And we do see them at the National Indian Education Association conferences every year.
Good.
So they're very well represented, because there's been a movement over the last 10 years, I want to say, with Native American tribes and education departments to salvage the language. Title VI was born out of a true federal policy, and you can actually look it up. It was kill the Indian and save the man. It was what we refer to as the forced assimilation policy. Yeah. And I think Biden just gave an apology to Native people, and he knows that that's not going to solve the entire history of boarding schools or residential schools. And so what was born out of that forced assimilation policy was that Native American children were not allowed to speak their language. They were taught to be ashamed of who they were. And a lot of them ended up dying in those boarding schools and never seeing their families again. And so for those of the children that did survive, there was a hidden passion, I would say, to connect with the culture, but it's hard to be out of the culture and then to go back into it. And, a lot of them had their hair cut. Yeah. They were no longer seen as a part of their or accepted like they were before, just because they had gone through so much in that forced assimilation. And so it would take years for that healing to begin, and it's still going on. But what I like to remind people is that every Native American person that you meet, every Indigenous person here in the North American area, we are all survivors of residential or boarding schools era. My own mother was actually a boarding school survivor, as well as my grandparents on both sides, paternal and maternal. So I remember growing up and hearing the stories. And so that obviously adds to the passion of why I do what I do. Yeah. Title VI was born out of that need to reconnect students. The U.S. Department of Education saw that it was a need to connect the children with their culture and how important that is for them, especially when they are in public school settings. A lot of them are removed from their reservations, or they don't attend Bureau of Indian Education schools on the reservations. So there's not a lot of contact with their culture. And so a lot of those schools that are on the reservation, they do have language programs. Title VI provides that, and it reconnects urban Native American students to their culture. But in fact, what I love about even that happening is that there's something magical that just comes from doing that actively and having parents involved with their students' education, but also caring a lot about their connection to their culture. And I feel like it's so inspiring, and we're always open to other people in the community coming. We've actually had reporters come and see our weekends where we have our dance classes. We would have parents that were making their regalia for powwows for their children. We even have a bunch of moms that get together, and towards the springtime, they're making stoles for graduation for the Native seniors that are going to be graduating. So it's just such a wonderful opportunity to see and to have parents be so involved and to value that part of their child's education, because it's really important. And that's one thing that I think I was really grateful that my parents did for me as well. But all of these things that I've learned as I've come through life and have just gone through different phases, it's just made me so grateful for everything that we do have. And so it is a great program. And if you're wondering, in the state of Utah, we actually have 21 Title VI sites throughout the state. And we do meet monthly because we're a federal program. So we have Dr. Foster over at Utah State Board of Education, who oversees all of the meetings that we have. And so it is a federal program it has a title. So it's like a Title I, Title III. So there are requirements for us to have the Title VI program within our LEA through Provo City School District. And so it's been so wonderful to have that running relationship. And I can see that sometimes it can be intimidating for people from the outside. Okay, what does this entail? I've gone through some boss changes over the years, but I always love every boss because they are okay, tell me a little bit about this. And so it's great to have that rundown and that education of how these programs actually do help our students. And I have to say, one really positive thing about Title VI is ever since Kathy started, we were, I believe, maybe in the 80th percentile for graduation rates, but we've been, I want to say, in the last 7 or 8 years at 100%.
Yeah, it's been really impressive.
It is so exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and that's where and you feel okay, this is a win.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. As kids are going through their adolescence, they're figuring out their identity and they're finding out about their family history and all of those pieces. This is very important for our Native American students too. How does having individuals who are recognizing that and seeing that, how does it helping them with that graduation? Because I think there's a direct correlation there, right? They're seen, they're valued, they're understanding where they come from, they understand how much they have to contribute. Do you have any experiences with students where they're like, this is awesome, like, and share that with us? And because you also hold a special graduation ceremony for our graduating seniors too. Just tell us a little bit more about that.
We do. And I feel like this is where I don't want to get too emotional, but when you go through this and I know one of the things that Kathy told me was she's like, it's just such an honor. I know it's not my culture, but you'll realize that working with this committee and they're just such good people. And I honestly, now that I'm a mom and that I have my own children in the district, I really look at these students like, our Native American cultures are very matriarchal. They're all centered around the mother or the woman. And so I take that very seriously because I know that a lot of these children have maybe come from whatever circumstance, or maybe they're living off the reservation and legally living with auntie and uncle. And so they're missing the reservation, they're missing home. And so I feel like the program has really provided a place for these students. So many of my students have gone on to do such awesome things, and I feel so old. Now that I've been doing this as long as I have, I'm just so proud of a lot of these students. We've had students that have started nonprofit organizations, here in the state of Utah that are executive directors. We have students that have become platform speakers during COVID and became famous influencers, who speak out for the missing, murdered, and Indigenous women movement. And so it's really amazing to see these young students become these amazing influencers or people that are actually just succeeding in education and in career. And a lot of that is because they know who they are, and I think that does start at such a young age. And we are in that constant, I like to tell them, I said, when you come to school, we don't expect you to shed your cultural skin. We don't want you to shed who you are. We want you to be proud of who you are all the time. And so I think that's something that I see with my students over the years is, especially being the teacher for the classes for powwow dancing and specifically hoop dance, Utah has like the largest population of hoop dancers and that are professional
and
hoop
they're
dancers.
Amazing.
They are incredible. And it kind of amazes me because they practice, and I'm like, I remember when I first taught them in kindergarten, it really just, I mean, they definitely outperformed their teacher, but it's a moment to be proud when I watching Living Legends at BYU and just knowing that, those kids started out so small, but it's been such an honor to be in that position and to see them grow and to see that confidence just build. Like there's nothing, I mean, teachers, educators, this is why we do what we do.
That's right.
And you look back at it and you just think, gosh, it goes by so fast. But I know that children are like sponges. They really, really do take in everything that they learn. And with those students, I remember every year when I start out, say, with a new student or students that are learning dances, I'm like, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, right? But you got this. We're all here to learn from each other. Like so-and-so can teach you. They started the same way, and you'll always have a student come in and be like, you can do it, and I've had some students cry because they're like, I can't do this. It's so hard. But that moment when you see them perform in their first powwow is just the best feeling in the world. And in fact, I just had a couple students dance at the UVU powwow just last week.
Wow.
And so it's just so fun to see them throughout the years become leaders and really just honing that message of that we're still here and that they're proud of who they are and their cultural heritage and learning to speak their language, because that's one thing that I may not be the most fluent Navajo speaker, but we do have our Navajo language class in the district as well, so that our Navajo students can qualify for the Navajo Nation scholarships. It's been fun to see these students, but I tell them, language is everything. It is everything because it'll tell you everything you need to know about the culture.
Yes, it will.
And it's been great to see them over the years. Now I have some that are in the university. I actually have a couple that are in law school. It's crazy to think, but they will never forget those lessons. It just makes me so happy to see them try to hone and sustain their culture through the language. And I'm proud of them, for learning and to take that on, because it's another aspect that I would love to just, dive myself into. It's such a blessing to be able to see these students just succeed in their life, and you couldn't wish for more. It's just
they thrive.
They do.
Yeah,
they really do.
When
thrive.
They understand that, they thrive.
They do.
Tell us a little bit about, you have purchased books for Centennial Middle School. So talk to us a little bit about this as they're recognizing Native American Heritage Month.
Sure. Well, they have a great program over there. They have Amanda Skeets, and I think Amanda teaches Native American history. Yep. And she does it every other year. And then Corey Small Canyon is also there as well. And Corey is incredible in so many areas. He's a genealogist, so he found our link, and we're actually cousins. We're related.
Oh, wow.
So he was able to figure this out because he understands Native American genealogy, which is very, very tricky. But Corey Small Canyon over at Centennial has worked with the principals over the years to make sure that they have a celebration for Native American Heritage Month with the Native students. And so this year, I know they have Dusty Jansen, who actually used to be a former member of our parent committee. And Dusty is now at the state level, and he works with Governor Cox as the director of the Utah Division of Indian Affairs.
Oh, that's
so
incredible.
Dusty's going to be coming and talking to the students.
Oh, good.
It's great. And then Corey always he has the aspect in there where he wants the students to meet local Native American students that may be at BYU or UVU. And so he'll bring like a speaker or someone to talk to the kids just so that they can see themselves in that. And that's always been, I think, our goal in Title VI is we want to connect them to that higher education, and we want them to see themselves in higher education, whether it's vocational school or college or university. We just want to make them feel like there is a place wherever you go. There's a place for you, and you'll succeed.
So what book have you chosen for this?
So the book that I've chosen, she has an adult version and one for young people. Okay. And so for any of those people that love history, I love history. This is a book I picked up at the National Indian Education Association conference. It's called An Indigenous Peoples History of the United States, but this version is for young people. And so it's by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz, and she is a historian. And she does some really great, succinct summarizations of Native American history over the years. And so it's a really easy read, and there's just different portions of the book that if you wanted to know, she kind of starts with the land, but really just hitting on the different important parts of American history that I think would be important for any young person to really know, because it's not truly taught in schools. I feel like our curriculum definitely gives the conqueror's version perspective.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's always two sides to every story.
Yeah.
And that's one thing you learn in history when I majored is history is like a pendulum. Anything you read or believe, there's a pendulum. And so try to take in as many resources as you can. And so I feel like she gives a really wonderful perspective of Native American history from the perspective of a Native American person. And so she talks about, the birth of the nation and just how that affected Native people. She ends in hope. What are you going to do? Yeah. And how are you going to continue on this history? And we all have a place in history and where we fall into that. And so I love that it's up to the students to kind of figure out where they will go with this knowledge. And so I really do love this book. Last year, we gave another book to the students. It was Everything You've Ever Wanted to Know About Native American People, but was too afraid to ask.
Yes, that's a great book, too.
And so some of these books. Yes. There's a lot of great books that are out there. And I love the resurgence of just Native American literature from Native people.
Yep.
And so you're seeing a lot of it in the movies and the media. A lot of very educated Native people that have come to the forefront. And what I'm loving right now is at NIEA, I was so excited to see how many Native American authors and Native Hawaiian authors there are for young readers.
Yeah, that's really important.
Oh, it was just it was so cool to see the adolescent category, for youth. And I have a lot of non-native friends that'll say, well, what's a good book for me to read? And a lot of them may have been inspired by Killers of the Flower Moon, which also, he's not a native author, but he did an incredible job writing that book. But it's fun to see people's excitement towards Native American history and why don't we talk about it more? Why is that something we don't talk about? And I'm like, well, because it's a hard pill to swallow. It's really hard to reconcile what has happened in our history. But I think a part of that too in healing is that coming together of just, let's not repeat that.
Yeah.
Let's learn from this and let's move on, because there is so much we can learn from each other.
And our society is better because we have all of these different perspectives.
Exactly.
It is. It's just richer.
It is. One thing my dad would say is, if you come into a community that's not your own, just make sure that you go into those communities with open ears. You don't need to say anything. Yep. You don't need to tell them how to live their life. No. Just go and listen. You can learn a lot.
You can learn a ton.
Learn where you can be helpful.
Yeah.
And so I've always taken that to heart. And so I do love that about our district, is that we are definitely growing, as far as diversity. So it is important. It's important for us in so many different ways to learn about each other and to learn where we come from, because everybody has a narrative. Everybody comes from someplace. Where you've come from or how you've acquired your identity. I think that those are so many important stories that we can learn from one another. That can definitely strengthen us.
I agree. Thank you so much, Meredith, for being on this podcast with us in celebration of Native American Heritage Month, and for just sharing. Oh my gosh, you're just a wealth of knowledge and just so much passion. We are lucky to have you here.
Well, thank you so much. And that's thank you in Navajo. So
thank you. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of What's Up with the Soup. As always, all episodes will be posted on the district website, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcasts. If you have any topics or questions you would like us to discuss on the podcast, please email us at podcast@provo.edu. Don't forget to join us again next week when we are back with an all-new episode of What's Up with the Soup. Have a great week, everyone.